The legend of the phoenix, all ends with beginnings. What keeps the planet springing? The force of the beginning. Love.
She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get sun. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up all night to get lucky.
The present has no limit. Your gift keeps on giving. What is this I'm feeling? If you wanna live, I'm ready.
We've got to fight to give up who we are. So let's raise a bar and go cast to the stars. She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get sun. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get sun. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky. 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 We're up all night to get lucky.
We're up all night to get. 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 We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky.
She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get sun. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get sun. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky.
We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky. We're up all
is clear. Doch im Keller ist noch mehr. Ah, 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 ah.
Welcome. May I take your order, please?
Hamburger, cheeseburger, 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 Big Mac, Big Mac, Big Mac, Big Mac, Whopper, 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 hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, 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 Whopper, and a side of fries. They bought on along one and you bought the game we was the you do the year thing in the garden. They bought on along one and bought the game we was the you do the They bought on one and they bought the game we was the you do the you don't they bought on one and they bought the game we was the you do the
Şeriyem der adam Oran tаңдым маржанар мелери шершей Аң мен аралбатын Қанға дула болсын Орай курай Шершей
Tengri kayra elikan ulgan mergen kızırgan umay guvara gubaygo ya jagana ayada günana yelana yelata bürküdüt poz tengri azit suana zuvada odana onada yarenri gurmez yali kalaz bayanay kalin notigen wah. Tengri kayra elikan ulgan mergen kızırgan umay guvara gubaygo ya jagana ayada günana yelana yelata bürküdüt poz tengri azit suana zuvada odana odada yarenri gurmez yali kalaz bayanay kalin notigen wah.
Andar mendar daimete bor izilana Hungara hungara hungara
One more time. One more time. We're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, alright. Don't stop the dancing. One more time. We're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, don't stop the dancing. One more time. You know I'm just feeling celebration tonight. Celebrate. Don't wait too late. No, we don't stop. You can't stop. We're gonna celebrate. One more time. One more time. One more time. A celebration. You know we're gonna do it right tonight. Hey, just feeling. Music's got me feeling the need. Yeah. Come on. Alright, we're gonna celebrate one more time. Celebrate and dance so free. Music's got me feeling so free. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free.
Oh, that's the bell. That's the bell. It's time. Bell is tolling.
Oh yeah.
Are we ready?
Make you jump.
Are we ready, Brain Donators? It's Friday. On 3G Mobile, coming to you live from 2012. Everybody, welcome. Alright, sorry to cut you off, DJ Kitty. Sorry to cut you off, DJ Kitty. Nothing personal. All right. Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday. Welcome back to the Brain Domain. Got my Colt Coochie shirt on. Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday. Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday. And you know what we're here to do? We're here to, do stuff on the internet. We're going to get some stuff done on the internet. What that is, I'm not sure exactly. I'm not quite sure just yet, but we'll see. Something will come to us. We've got the question box open. It's ready for you. If you've got any questions, any topics, any interesting psychological subjects that you'd like to explore, any life quandaries that you would like help hashing out, it's whatever you want to do. It's whatever you want to do. I feel like way more people online need help with navigating interpersonal communication and conflict resolution after yesterday. Yes. I agree. Lemmy Sammy, thank you for gifting that sub to I Took a Dump in a Toilet. We're happy for you. We're glad you made it in the bowl. The internet is really cool. The internet allows people to come together from all over the place and form relationships and make friends and talk about stuff that they both like and build communities. It's really neat. But there are some drawbacks to this as well. There are some drawbacks. One of these being, just a difficulty in navigating everyday, ordinary, interpersonal conflict. Not to sound old, but we're getting there. Not to sound old, but, there was a time where if you had a problem with somebody and you wanted to work it out with them, you had to do it in person. What the internet has afforded us is all of these extra layers and all of these different channels through which we can communicate, and so passive aggression has really taken over. You just see a lot of back channeling and, people won't talk to each other directly when they have a problem, especially somebody that they consider a friend. Anyway. I believe that there is genuineness. I believe that there are genuine people. And I believe that, you know, the connection and the community that can be built over the internet is something special. But we need to not allow ourselves to be too comfortable, especially when it comes to resolving conflict. We've become very avoidant. We've become very passive when it comes to resolving issues. And it's frustrating to deal with. It just kind of feels childish. It feels sometimes like middle school is just a nightmare that we never woke up from. This is why I've got, okay, let me share with you a strategy that I like to use. When people come to me with a grievance about somebody else, what I like to begin with is asking them, well, have you talked to them about it? Have you spoken to them about it? You have an issue with this person? And you're talking to me about it. So you're either looking for validation, guidance, comfort. You're not looking for resolution, because if you were looking for resolution, you would talk to the person that you have a problem with. You wouldn't be talking to me. I can't do anything except make you feel better. So just keep that in mind. If you've got a problem with somebody, talk to that person. And if they don't want to talk to you, then go talk to somebody else about it. Like, well, I tried to talk to them about it, but they wouldn't even talk to me. They blocked me. You know, they stopped answering my calls or whatever. It's like, okay, there you go. That's a different story. You're now expressing your frustration at communication being closed off. You're not just griping about something that somebody did to upset you. Griping can make us feel better. It can make us feel validated. It can make us feel supported. But it doesn't do anything to actually fix the problem. And when you're a grown-up, that's what you do. When there is a problem, you fix it. If there is a leak, you fix it. You don't go and you're like, wow, can you believe that water that's dripping in the kitchen? That's crazy. Yeah, look at the floorboards. They're starting to swell up. Oh yeah, the water damage is going to be insane. I don't know. It's also important to remember that sometimes venting to other people can actually just rile you up further. And so sometimes a small issue can get blown way out of proportion because instead of talking to the person about it and clearing it up, you instead go to other people and talk to them, and then they rile you up like, oh my god, I would be so pissed if I was you. I can't believe you're handling it so well. You're so calm right now. I like my husband straight to fixing. For many problems, that's the best course of action. You know, something's broken, something's leaking, something's on fire. It's probably best to do something about it and then talk about how we feel about it. But sometimes when you're dealing with people, it takes a little bit more time. You need some time to think about how you feel. You need some perspective. and have a tendency to want to fix things rather than just listen. You know, have you ever seen the movie Robots? There's a movie, it's an animated film, it's called Robots. There was a quote in that film, and it was, see a need, fill a need. And so that's kind of what I did. I'm like, men are pretty bad at the whole emotion thing. They're not very good at listening. And so what do? Like, well, let's get to it then. That's the movie with the robot mama with the big dumper. You know, I had forgotten about that part. What's this movie called? Oh, they had you at Robot Mama Dumper. Came out in 2005. It's called Robots. Shout out my friend Hugh. Love you, Hugh. You're a shining star. Oh yeah, we watched Tremors for the movie night, which it still holds up because it's all practical effects. Practical effects age so much better than CGI. So the movie's from 1990, it still looks pretty good. Like I need to clear my throat. Let's just go ahead and do that real quick. Better. Hamburger. Oh yeah. All right. Got a question in the box. I'm ready to get to it. My brain's not doing much original thinking, and so I need your thoughts to react and respond to. My brain said no OC today. Hello. I would like to propose a presentation topic for the future, ask some questions and make some points with all respect. I would like to learn what one can do to not get weaponized by an influential figure. A figure that follows their own ambitions, I would like to add. Gotten curious in light of, oh, this is the person who came in and was trying to troll us yesterday. They were doing it on behalf of another content creator. Which we kind of called him out on. I'm like, what are you doing in here doing this person's dirty work? For free? Because this does happen, you see it all across the internet. People will basically just get weaponized by whichever creator they follow the most closely. My and chat's response that followed, it got me thinking. I'm very curious as to what a person can do to not pledge allegiance to a master and go into battle, because some people with a following said that this other person with the following is a bad person, pedophile, and so on. Why is it so easy and rewarding for many to become a tool with simple programming? They are bad, we are good. Well, is it wrong to say the behavior feels culty? Oh no, it definitely is culty, and that's a big part of it. It's part of about... Okay. There's a lot that goes into this. I'm gonna talk about a lot of it, but I might not scratch everything because it's a complicated behavior with some complicated underpinnings. But let's just try to get to the basics. When you look at it at a very basic level, it's all about belonging. They feel like they belong to a group, and feeling like you belong to a group is really important, because feeling all alone, feeling unheard, feeling unseen, feeling like you're not connected to anybody, it's very painful. And so they form this sort of in-group versus out-group mentality. This is my person, and if you're going after my person, it's like you're attacking their home. And so they go out and they wage war on the people that they think are potential enemies of their bestie. It's important to remember that because of the idolization that's going on, these people probably don't believe a lot of the accusations that are made against the person. And so a person could be downright repugnant. A person could be a real stinker. But they probably wouldn't buy into it, and they probably wouldn't believe it. They would just think that, oh, that's just slander. That's just lies. That's just other people talking shit. They're just jealous. They're just trying to make them look bad. So it's important to remember, people can delude themselves. People can make themselves it's important to take a step back and to try to look at the bigger picture. What is it that I'm doing here? What is it that I'm doing in this group? Sure, I belong to a group. What are our shared motives? What are our shared goals, our shared beliefs? Do I just belong to the group just so that I can belong to a group? Maybe we all laugh at the same jokes? Maybe we think the same kind of stuff is funny? But you need to look beyond that. What do you believe? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? What are your values, your virtues? Before you align yourself with a group, you should be more rigorous with determining if that group is a good fit for you. But that takes work, and people can be very lazy. And so that's why they devolve into this very simplistic black and white thinking. They're bad, we're good. Because to do anything beyond that takes work, and work sucks. Some questions to consider. What am I doing here? What am I doing with these people? Are we just coming together to talk about people that we hate? Are we here to just feel validated in our own hatred that we have for others? If so, you're in a hate group. Just saying. I'm just saying, if you primarily spend most of your time in that group just being a hater, that's a hate group. Because of how the internet works, we can gravitate towards people that we look up to. We can gravitate towards people that, we believe that they have a good moral compass. We can look to people for education and guidance and community. And so I feel like it's not always a bad thing to be willing to step up for something that you believe in. Just make sure that your beliefs are something that's actually worth fighting for. If you're going out and fighting somebody else's internet battles because you think that fart and poops are funny, maybe you need to raise your standards a little bit. The reason why I find this topic very important is not any internet drama really, but because so many young people die under drones now, women and children under bombs, nationalities and races get persecuted, oppressed, and cut down because a powerful and influential person said so. On the topic of this chatter, imagine a dog barked at you. Are you barking back? The dog feels threatened, scared for itself and its owner or its pack. That's why it barked. If you stand on two legs and not four, it should be obvious. The analogy of the barking at a dog is very harsh, but it's all I got, no disrespect. Thank you, I'd love to learn more on the topic. No, you're right, there are much bigger issues to be worried about. And so that's why it gets frustrating sometimes when you see people who have so much energy and so much passion to pour into a topic or a discussion point that just really doesn't matter at all. Instead of focusing on the bigger picture, like what can we do to help the most people? Like what can we do to make housing affordable? What can we do to make sure that children are getting a good education? What can we do to make sure that our streets aren't full of garbage and pee? All of these are much bigger deals to me. I feel like a lot of people on the internet are still stuck in that 2016 mindset of identity politics and oh, but my feelings are hurt. It's like, we are beyond that. There's a fascist coup happening right now. We can talk about your feelings after. Make sure that everybody feels safe and cozy. I don't think everybody's going to be able to feel safe and cozy in the face of a fascist coup, but, we'll try our best to make you comfortable. I didn't understand the dog analogy. It's a pack mentality. It's a pack mentality, it's your group, and you feel like your group's under attack, and so you start leaning into your more animalistic behaviors. You growl, you bare your teeth. Arr, arr. I say class solidarity is stronger than identity politics every time. Exactly. We're all in the same class, and that's what actually matters. People are mistaking being uncomfortable for being unsafe. Exactly. Exactly. People are mistaking being uncomfortable for being unsafe. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of uncomfortable shit that's really pressing that needs to be dealt with, and so we're gonna have to talk about it, we're gonna have to work on it, we're gonna have to do something about it. This is okay. So you were thinking about a presentation or talking about this topic more. I think that's a good idea. I want to talk about it more. I mentioned yesterday I met Wake at TwitchCon and we talked for a little bit. Told him what I do. He and I have similar goals. We want to do what we can to help people that kind of fall into that trap. And so I think coming together and talking about it, just about the importance of having good role models on the internet, because there are so many dog shit role models on the internet, it's crazy. I would love to see you do more collabs in general. It's the only way I'm gonna grow. I've got two ways of growing. You go talk to people about us, and then you invite them in. Or I start collaborating with other people. So I'll do my part, you do your part. Most people need to recognize their own feelings first to see they are projecting them on external things. True. The amount of projection that goes on, once you learn to pick it up, once you learn to like recognize it for what it is, like it's all over the place. Have I ever done a presentation on loss of and regaining of identity? Was that your request? Because that topic had been requested before, and yes, we did. Let me find it. We did do it, so there's probably a VOD of it. The VOD's probably on YouTube. You keep all your slides? Yeah, I normally post them as we do them. There's a slide for everything. The library is growing. What I want to do is go back and update some of my older ones. Because we have a lot of good stuff, I need to bring it up to my current standard. Wait, is the Goob actually a mod now? It happened. Yeah, we've got some good stuff in here. Looking back, it's like, damn, I need to update some of these. We talked all about self-diagnosis. That shit was crazy. So So is Discord really not a cult, or is it? It's definitely not. I don't want it to be a cult, but they won't let it not be one. That's what we're at. That's what... I don't want it to be, but they can't help themselves. Does the cult leader have 6 wives? I'm a married man, and I'm perfectly content. I don't get the whole multiple wives thing. It doesn't make sense to me. One person is complicated enough for me. I could not possibly comprehend any more. My brain would, no. I'm just, no, not built for it. Oh shit, 2 people found the VOD for you, Vernick. This really is the best community. And I say that knowing that I'm biased, but I believe it anyway. You're all a bunch of perfect little angels. My one husband is rather high maintenance. I cannot imagine adding another factor. Exactly, like, I get it that there are people out there who like to be polyamorous and they like to share the love, but that just sounds too complicated for me. That sounds like a full-time job. You know, no shame. I'm just like, more power to you if you're able to make it work. Just the logistics. The logistics of it all. You know, that's how many birthdays you gotta remember. How many date nights. Then you get people getting jealous. Like, oh, you're supposed to hang out with me and you hung out with them. What happens when somebody gets sick? When one person gets sick, the whole polycule gets sick. I'd have to be the favorite, so that wouldn't work. There are, okay, I only say this because I've known somebody. I've known somebody, it was a friend of mine, they went down kind of a weird hippie path, and they kind of found themselves at the center of this sort of like matriarchal polycule. It was... I've known a couple people like this. It's just, it does happen. It's like the queen bee, and all the little... So, I don't know, maybe something like that would work for you better. You seen Inside Out? I have not seen Inside Out. I just watched it for the first time as a millennial who grew up on classic Disney princess tropes, and I couldn't help thinking how different my understanding of emotions might have been if this had come out in the 90s. From your perspective as a psychologist, how accurately do you think the film portrays emotional processes and memory formation? I'm gonna have to hand this one over to the chat. I would comment, but I haven't actually seen the movie. So I guess I have to now, so that I can weigh in. My only understanding of the movie is that it portrays emotions as these internal characters, and they all represent the different emotions. I don't know much more than that. The way they explain the long-term memories is accurate. Okay. I'm sure that they did their homework. Like, as far as I've heard, like, the movie is supposed to be a pretty good representation. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I'm an uneducated man when it comes to films. Yeah, Goobens hasn't seen Jurassic Park, so we're gonna change that. Yeah, as far as I've heard, the film does a good depiction. I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it personally. I think a lot of things that happened yesterday is being co-opted by malcontents. Well, that's how it goes. We're dealing with internet community drama, so there's always going to be people who are just in it for all the wrong reasons. That's one of the most frustrating parts about being on the internet. All these bad actors. I've been in the discords of both sides, and it feels like neither side is spewing pure hate. Exactly, because this is leftist infighting. What you're seeing is a discourse between two groups of people who agree on 99% of stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of progressive spaces deal with a scarcity mindset. If they're watching your stream, they're not watching my stream. If I take you down, I get your viewers. There's only so many viewers to be had, and so we're actually in a competition. We're not actually friends. And you see that a lot in the live streaming space. It's a zero-sum game. It's a scarcity mindset. The things I've heard, the petty bullshit that I've had to bear witness to, it would disappoint you. You would think that these people who have a lot of great ideas would act like adults, but we're all 12 now. I believe in anti-racism and fighting bigotry, as do the people I see as part of my community, and I feel like it is the same for people attacking in my community. I agree. I feel like I said, we agree on 99% of stuff, maybe even more. Maybe it's more like 99.5. We are upset that whiteness is being centered. By whom? Who? I'm not caught up on this. I'm not sure what you're referring to. By whom? White supremacy is being normalized? I can see that. There's people marching around waving Nazi flags in the United States. Like, that shit is all over the place. Absolutely. This feels cryptic. It is kind of cryptic, and I'm not, like, I would like more detail as far as what exactly we're referring to. Like, who's we? Who's upset? What are you upset about? Can you give me some details so that we can talk about it? Id poll is important because even if we had socialized medicine, racism would still exist. Just another thing that we need to work on. We've got a lot of problems as a species. We have a lot of shit to figure out. I'm glad if anything gets done, instead of just fighting over what needs to be done first. I want to see some sort of progress. Because this country is just rotting away from the inside, and I want to see something good. I want to see something get better. People can't deal with discomfort of dealing with their white privilege, and that's the heart of the issue. Again, who? Who are we talking about? You say people. Who are we talking about? And now all of a sudden we are being accused of being wreckers for calling out normalized bigotry. I don't know who we're talking about. We're just saying we and people and... I don't know, I'm hurting and I hope everyone can get better. I hope so too. I feel like a lot of people of color are concerned in general that any social movements that are going on will take from their efforts but not deliver to their needs. This is why we're fighting for things for everybody. I'm not fighting for things for just for people that look like me, and I don't know who is. Well, actually I do know who is, but those people are terrible. I don't know. Part of it just feels like, if I'm gonna be honest, it almost feels like an op. It almost feels like this is what the other side wants us to be fighting about so that we don't get anything done. Like, hey, you should do identity politics again. That'll get stuff done. Like, do I wish racism didn't exist? Yes. Do I wish that people also had socialized medicine and housing? Also yes. I want both, and I want them right now. If you think that there aren't forces on the right that won't... If you think that forces on the right aren't leveraging leftist infighting to stymie the movement, you need to wake the fuck up. You need to remember who the real enemies are. They are not the people that you share a class with. We are all in the same class and we are all on the same team. And so I feel like I just want shit to get better for everybody. And I think that's what most people want. So I don't know why we're trying to fight each other when we're on the same fucking side. It's exactly what the opposition wants us to do. Just want everything to get better for everybody. City council campaign speech went well. I'm getting better at public speaking. Let's fucking go. That's what we need. We needed a W. Need some W's, chat. I can feel my energy level dipping. I need W's. I liked the question. It doesn't put people in the camps while highlighting the issues open to interpretation. That's good, I think. I guess. I'm the type of person where if there's an issue that you want to talk about, let's talk about the issue. You know, like, I do better with specifics. Also, I see a lot on the internet people using we when they really mean I. You know, they... Like, don't say we unless there's multiple people there with you speaking. You know what you should do? You should recommend my YouTube video where we go over this presentation and talk about leftist infighting. Because if we're dealing with interpersonal conflict within a progressive space, this is good stuff to know. There's the VOD. I did the snippet. It's on YouTube. I posted just the video. Especially on the internet. A lot of this stuff really rings true to these internet communities, these progressive internet communities. What I've noticed a lot is this scarcity mindset. A lot of progressive organizations and individuals operate under these feelings of resource scarcity because, in general, their resources are scarce. There's limited funding, you get suppressed within the algorithm, there's no institutional support, and so this feeds into a zero-sum mindset. If they're getting support, I'm not getting support. If their voice is being amplified, then my voice is being diminished. Like, the fact that I'm speaking doesn't do anything to silence anyone else from speaking. But I feel like people will portray that idea, like, you're silencing my voice by speaking. It's like, no, you're also free to speak. And so anyway, this is why I'm leaving the left. I'm a socialist now. I'm a socialist now. Actually, that's another part we talk about. Another part that we talk about is the labels. You know, factionalism. Oh, are you an anarchist? Are you a socialist? Are you a Marxist? Are you a Leninist? Are you a communist? Are you a liberal? The whole in-group, out-group thing is really important to understand. I don't want to go back through the whole presentation. If you're interested in the topic, I encourage you to check out my YouTube video where I go through the presentation. I'm highlighting some topics because they kind of came up in discussion today. This whole in-group, out-group shit. It's normal to expect opposition from your enemies, but sometimes when you're receiving criticism from within your own camp, it feels much more threatening. This is horizontal hostility. And it's how marginalized or allied groups turn against each other. This type of betrayal feels more painful because it threatens our sense of belonging and it threatens our moral coherence. And so what ends up happening is that people who are almost like us end up becoming the targets for disproportionate levels of hostility because they challenge our identity boundaries. So what do? We grow up, we look at the bigger picture, and we realize who our actual enemies are. Oh, you mentioned Daryl. I love Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis is a fucking boss. Daryl Davis. I'm gonna remind you Daryl Davis, one of my heroes. Let me pull up the NPR interview. Daryl Davis, a blues singer. He's a musician. He convinced members of the KKK to give up their robes. He spent 30 years befriending Klansmen and helping to change their minds. Now that's some real king shit. So what's more important? Petty internet drama or actually getting shit done? Anyway, hopefully you see where I'm coming from. I'm just over the childishness. It just feels kind of like people are losing their homes, people can't afford to eat, people can't afford to go to the doctor. It's like, we've got shit to do. We've got big problems. We've got people getting kidnapped off the streets by masked thugs. Like, shit's fucking dire. Daryl Davis, a blues musician, spent 30 years. Davis, a black man, has spent time befriending members of the KKK. He was playing music in a bar called the Silver Dollar Lounge, and a white person came up to him, and it just so happened to be, what's his name? Some high-ranking guy in the KKK. I don't know what his name was. He says the best thing to do is to study up on the subject as much as you can. I went in armed, not with a weapon, but with knowledge. I knew as much about the Klan, if not more, than many of the Klan people that I interviewed. When they see that you know about their organization, their belief system, they respect you. Whether they like you or not, they respect the fact that you've done your homework. Just like any good salesman, you want a return visit, and they recognize that I'd done my homework, which allows me to come back again. That began to chip away at their ideology, because when two enemies are talking, they're not fighting. You know, we talked yesterday about religious trauma and how people get brought up in these institutions and how they feel pressured to stay in these institutions, even when the beliefs that are imposed upon them go against their own values and virtues. And so when you recognize that that happens, and it happens a lot, it's important to allow people to get better, allow people to mend. You know? Believe in redemption. Of course, you model it, but in the end, I am convinced each one is in the end futile. Well, that's just life for you, because everything is impermanent, everything will return to dust. You know, we will all be, we're just a speck on a speck, and we're just here for a blink in the grand scheme of things. And so, yeah, in the end, everything is futile. What was it all for? Who knows? But at least we tried to make things better while we were there. You know, we saw that there was dirt, and so we swept it up. We tidied up. We made it look nice, and we tried to have a good time. Alrighty, we're caught up with the question box. Caught up with the question box. I wonder if the conversation were on comparing what each person felt was precious and valuable, that kind of identifying the same values humanizes the person to each other. It's a start to deconstructing destructive ideologies. Exactly. Because when you actually sit down and talk with people, what you recognize is they want the same stuff that you want. They just want to feel safe, they want to be healthy, they want to have food and shelter, and they want to have friends, and they want to enjoy life. I just think that there are higher forces at play. There are, people who control social media platforms and, news outlets. They want us to be afraid of each other so that we don't unify, because that's the only way that we're going to win. If they can keep us afraid of each other and fighting with each other, then they win. And so whenever we're fighting amongst ourselves, that is us doing them a favor. I think there's some basic mechanisms of language we never addressed. We invented language. It's our responsibility to hone this instrument if it's not working right. You're gonna get me started on an interesting topic here. Language. Let me show you something. Seeing all kinds of people coming together in natural disasters is proof of the human spirit and kindness, IMO. As Mr. Rogers would say, look for the helpers. Talked about language as this instrument that we have invented. And what I find interesting to think about is how there are only certain parts of our brain that actually understand language. There are specific parts of our brain that are responsible in writing words and speaking words and understanding what words mean and being able to speak. And so when you think about it, whenever we're trying to filter something or understand something, we have to filter it into words. And so we might be taking something that's very big, a big idea, a big feeling, and we have to kind of distill it down into language. And so it's taking something that you could be feeling on a much more broad scale, and then you're having to run it through that language center of your brain. Kind of like a bottleneck. Language can mean a great many things. I'm speaking of spoken or written words. That's what I'm talking about. Of course, you can communicate. Like, I make a distinction between language and communication. We communicate in all sorts of ways. Most of our communication is actually nonverbal. Understanding this, it kind of has led me to a point in my life where sometimes I don't like to rush to define things. When maybe it's a feeling or an experience, I just like to feel it before I rush into putting words to it. Like, oh, this feels good, this is fun, this is nice. Like, I just try to let it be before I distill it down into an idea. Working with nonverbal people, I've learned so much is just body language and vibes. Oh yeah, a majority of our communication is nonverbal. Even certain proteins, enzymes write and use databases. Isn't biology incredible? Also, imagine your cells finding out that you don't love yourself. Like, wouldn't that just break their little cell hearts? Wouldn't that just break their little mitochondria? It's like, so you're telling me I'm working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in complete darkness just so that you can hate yourself? That's crazy, man. Every cell within your body loves you. Except it's our brain that talks us out of it. What you'll notice is that sometimes our brains love to talk ourselves out of a good feeling. We love to talk ourselves out of happiness. How can I work on my hypersensitivity? Desensitization. Exposure response prevention. Lately I'll be feeling good and all it takes is one depressing news headline and I get this deep pit of despair in my belly that eventually fades away. It's like these intense bouts of depression, but they dissipate fairly quickly. Similarly to how somebody who eats chili peppers every day would build a spice tolerance, you kind of have to just gradually expose yourself to these types of things. But the exposure and building up a tolerance is just part of it. We also want to take a look at how do we respond to it when we feel overwhelmed? What's that look like? You know, am I taking good care of myself? Am I giving myself a soft space to land? What I like to try to do, if I come across, like, I'll give you an example of what I like to do. I come across a headline or something that pops up, and it's just really frustrating. It's really saddening. You know, it's just bad news. I try to just take a moment and just reflect on that feeling. I don't need to let it overwhelm me. I'm just acknowledging that that feeling exists because I'm reading bad news and I'm a caring person, and to hear that there's bad stuff happening, it feels bad to me. And so I'm going to honor that feeling. I'm going to validate that feeling. And then I'm going to keep going. I've found that if I take an intentional, mindful moment to just allow myself to feel whatever it is that I'm feeling, then it doesn't have to overwhelm me. Because I've found that emotions tend to be more overwhelming whenever you're trying to avoid feeling them. It's like the feeling's always going to catch up with you. But if you run from the feeling, it's just going to catch up with you when you're tired. You're just going to be tired when it catches up with you. It's just going to catch you when you're laying there at night trying to fall asleep. There's another technique that you might find helpful. It's called Name It to Tame It. By identifying the emotion that you're feeling, putting a label on it, understanding it, quantifying it, it allows you to regain a sense of control over it. So you read a news title and it makes you feel very upset. You're like, wow, I can't believe that this would happen. This makes me feel very upset. You own it. You identify it, you label it. It turns it into something that you can understand, something that you know how to work with. It makes it feel less vague, and it helps to reestablish a sense of control. It might sound silly and it might sound simple, but it is effective. Seven out of 10 on the upset scale. You know, that's also a good idea. If you are upset by something, put it on a scale. How upset am I right now? Out of 10. 10 being the most upset I could ever be. I have steam blowing out of my ears. I'm red in the face. If you can identify where you're at, like, okay, maybe I'm at a 6. Like, all right, what can I do to get it down to a 5 or a 4? You know, we're not going to have it go all the way down to a 1, and at least not right away. It's just mindfulness. You're checking in with yourself. You're seeing where you're at, and you're recognizing where you want to be so that you can find out how to get there. Also, I feel like this isn't entirely on you because just the way things have been in the world lately, I feel like people are more sensitive than they have been previously because, as we've talked about before, things are feeling pretty dire for a lot of people. There's a lot of fucked up stuff happening right now, and it has people feeling on edge. And so that definitely bleeds into it. And I try to remember that whenever I, dealing with somebody who's upset. You know, if somebody is upset with you, it might not have anything to do with you. It might just be something that's outside of their control, and you just happen to be the outlet for it. Am I wrong for judging people by the clothes they choose to wear? Yes. You are, actually. That's a crime. That's illegal. You know, take it outside of clothes. Let's look beyond that. If you're judging somebody based on their physical appearance, it's just generally a bad look. You know, that's just generally a rude thing to do. Now, there's a difference between, if somebody's like covered in mud and they stink. It's like, okay, I can feel bad for them because, wow, like they must be really going through something right now, but I don't need to judge them for it. Like, ew, you're so dirty and stinky. No, it's like, I don't need to judge anybody for their physical appearance. Unless they're wearing a shirt that says, something terrible on it. They just have hateful slogans or, that kind of shit. They're walking around in an SS uniform, then yes, by all means, judge away. Obviously, that's an exception to what we're talking about here. I can't help but to think their clothes are tied to their personality. I feel like clothes are an extension of a person's personality, but ultimately it's just for show. You know, maybe they're just wearing something that they feel comfortable in, maybe they're just wearing something that makes them feel good, maybe it makes them feel like they look good, or maybe it hides something that they're insecure about, and so there's a lot more to it than just I dress based on who I am as a person. If someone dresses plain, I assume they're boring. That's a mistake, actually. That's a mistake. You don't want to write off anybody, especially just because of how they're dressed. And if someone dresses in really goofy graphic meme tees, I assume they're very strange and don't brush their teeth. It's probably bad that I do this, but I don't know how I can avoid thinking this way. Post a picture of you wearing whatever you wear on a normal day, and then we'll judge you based on that, and then you can see how it feels. It's not so fun when the tables get turned, now is it? It's not so fun when the tables get turned. You know, if you're going to be judgmental of others based on how they present themselves, that also invites other people to bear judgment onto you. And so maybe you dress very nice. Maybe you dress very nice and you put a lot of time and effort into your appearance. Well, maybe people are going to judge you on that. Maybe they're going to think that you are an empty head because you spend too much time manicuring your eyebrows and tailoring your outfits. Or like, wow, that person must be an idiot because they spend so much time on their physical appearance. It's important that you feel comfortable in what you wear, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. This is why you don't want to judge people based on what they wear. Because you know what, if somebody wants to put more time and effort into their appearance and they really want to look good, good for you. If it makes you happy, I'm happy for you. But if wearing a goofy graphic meme tee makes you happy, guess what? I'm also happy for you. I would encourage you to try to just share in other people's happiness and excitement, instead of placing judgments on people that you don't know based on their physical characteristics. Also, speaking of, what do you think of my t-shirt? What do you think of my goofy meme t-shirt? Makes you think I don't brush my teeth? You would be correct. I'm anti-hygiene. How'd you know? I'm an anti-hygienist. I'm never gonna wipe my butt. Questioner, I wasn't trying to come after you hard. I'm just trying to let you know that that type of behavior is not gonna make you popular. You know? I think we want to just try to lead with compassion and kindness and not judge people based on their external features. I'm not anti-hygiene, neither am I. I'm pro-hygiene. I was just making a gaffe. Anyway, I just don't want anybody to be shallow. I just don't want anybody to be shallow because Judging people on their physical appearance is how people get eating disorders, and that shit's fucked up. If you're gonna judge somebody based on what they're wearing, then you might be missing out on some really great opportunities for friendship. You might be missing out on some fantastic conversations. You know, so don't rule anybody out just because they're not dressed in a way that you deem appropriate. You know, maybe they're allergic to certain fabrics. Or maybe a loved one that passed away got them that shirt and it has sentimental value. You never know. You never know. And so that's why we don't judge. That's why we don't judge a book by its cover. Hey, Beaver. What are you doing? Nice to see you. Oh, yes, Beaver. You're very handsome. Mm-hmm. Have you had a good nap? Are you ready to have more of a nap? Anyway, questioner, I wasn't trying to come after you too hard. You were, it's kind of just a shallow behavior, you know, and we're bigger than that, you know? I'm very good smelling too. I got this pine tar deodorant and it smells really good. So that's what I'm all about. I love smelling like a tree. Dr. Squatch brand. Yeah, the Dr. Squatch one's pretty good. Smells really good. Now there's a sponsorship deal I'd take. Soap. Deodorant. I would love a soap sponsorship. You know, I can be a bit of a minimalist. I try to make do with what I've got. I'm not very big on spending. But there is one thing that I like, and that's a good smelling soap. Beaver? What do you think? You don't use soap. You silly cat. You don't even know what soap is. Are you gonna get yourself there? Okay, there he goes. I was waiting for this kitty to settle down. Settle down, kitty. Yeah, I don't like to buy much stuff. But I like to buy a nice smelling candle and a nice smelling soap. I also like tea. I'm a tea guy. They had a pretty nice Earl Grey tea at the partner part. Like, so when I went to TwitchCon, I got to go into like the exclusive access area. They had tea. I was like, ooh, they got Earl Grey. So I was drinking that every morning. Brought a couple packets back with me too. Just the perks. Some of the perks. Apparently lavender smells like poop to people because it's used in baby products, so I avoid that one. See, that's something I find really interesting, is how we will associate a smell with certain things or a taste with certain things. I'll give you an example. Root beer is not popular in the UK and in Ireland because they will often use that flavoring in medicines. And so they're like, ew, this tastes like medicine. And on my end, I'm like, this tastes delicious. What is root beer? Root beer, it's a drink that's flavored with sarsaparilla and other herbs and spices. A North American beverage traditionally made with the root bark of the sassafras tree. Or the sarsaparilla vine. I'm a root beer connoisseur. Me too. I went to the Root Beer Museum in Wisconsin Dells. I got to do a root beer flight. It was nice. Got to try some really good root beers. Oh, here's a fun word. Mucilaginous. Mucilaginous? Kind of like those little worm tongues on Tremors. They're always leaving that goopy slime all over the place. Very mucilaginous. Anyway, root beer is good. They can add all sorts of stuff to it to flavor it. I like it. Probably my favorite soda. Low-key, want a road trip around America and find its hidden gems and good museums and shit? Have you heard of the Atlas Obscura? It's an American-based company that catalogs and showcases unusual and obscure travel destinations. So if you're looking for something weird and off the wall to explore, this is where you find the collection. Also, this is where you find a really big Toyota truck ad. How many times do I have to close you? Yeah, this is where you're gonna find a list of like all the like random museums and like interesting sites and the world's largest ball of yarn and all that kind of stuff. All sorts of stuff. This place is pretty cool. It's in Wisconsin. It's called the House on the Rock. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's built by this rich architect. They just kept adding stuff onto it, and he had this whole huge collection of stuff. It's really neat. There's a recreation of an old London street. There's a giant whale that's like 3 stories tall. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to really explain all of it because there's just so much in it. But it's just all sorts of random cool stuff. There's also this section where it's like, there's all sorts of like self-playing instruments, and they have like entire orchestras of these self-playing instruments. It's really cool. Anyway, if you're ever in Wisconsin, get some cheese curds and check it out. But anyway, I heard about that from the Atlas Obscura, so that's why I brought it up. Just to make everything full circle. Cult. Just wearing a shirt with the word cult on it. I don't know about you. I just feel like my brain has not been functioning. I've just been very sleepy ever since I got back from out of town. Wasn't even gone all that. I was gone a week. I just feel like I haven't come back into myself yet. Get back into the swing of things. What kind of cult calls itself a cult? That's how you know it's not a cult. Or that it is, I'm not sure. How can you tell BPD from bipolar disorder? I know I can just Google it, but hey. Well, I'm glad you decided to talk to me about it instead. Just looking it up online. BPD, borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, also sometimes gets abbreviated as BPD, and so there's sometimes a bit of confusion between the two. In reality, they don't have all that much in common. When you're talking about bipolar disorder, you're talking about somebody who has mood swings that may last, weeks to months. It's not normally very rapid cycling. You do occasionally see somebody who will alternate more quickly between being depressed and being manic, but that's typically more rare. Bipolar is one word, so it would be BD. That just looks like a smiling face with sunglasses. Also, I'm not saying that it's the right abbreviation, I'm just saying that's what people have said. People will do that. They'll be like, bipolar disorder, BPD. Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder, which means it affects how somebody feels. They will either feel very manic or very depressed. It affects their energy level, as they're either are very high up or very low down or somewhere in between. Borderline personality disorder, on the other hand, has more to do with a person's relationships. You know, they tend to have a fear of abandonment. They can sometimes have a hard time regulating their emotions. They might be a little reactive. But a lot of it stems from trauma and a fear of abandonment. And so, how can you tell the difference? They look nothing alike. Like, yeah, you can tell that a truck is a truck because it's got the thing in the back that you can put stuff in. And you can tell that a car is not a truck because it doesn't have that thing. Unless you're looking at an El Camino, in which case we're all going to be confused. Is there an abbreviation for bipolar? We normally just call it bipolar. Truck a car? It's an automobile, but it's not a car. Just like BPD and bipolar disorder, they are both diagnoses, but they are distinct in their own way. There might be a little bit of overlap in some of the behaviors that you might see, but typically BPD is, I would say, easier to identify because it's harder to hide. It's not as easy to mask BPD because BPD will affect many of the relationships that you have in life. Bipolar disorder, it's easier to mask. You know, you might withdraw in your depressive phase. The manic side, it might, you know, be out in the open. It might be in everybody's business. I see bipolar disorder as BD1 and BD2. Yeah, there are two different types, or two different main types of bipolar disorder. Bipolar, the only difference is how high your mania goes. Let's take a look at a chart. Let's look at a graph. Let's graph it up. This is a mood chart. And you can see, let's start down at the bottom. That would be the deep depression. And we would look at that as being a major depression. On the opposite end, you have mania. Mania is basically the opposite of depression. Instead of staying alone in your bedroom with the lights off, you are out in the world and you are making moves and you are talking to people and you are making things happen and you're go, 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 go. What you'll notice is that the graph doesn't go in like a perfect sine wave. It's not like it will just alternate between down and up, and it's, you know, sometimes there's some down, sometimes the down is not as bad, sometimes the down is really bad, sometimes there's some up, but sometimes the up isn't as intense, sometimes the up is really intense. I also included a mixed state which you don't see that often because it's kind of like a perfect storm situation. You're in a mixed state. You're simultaneously depressed and manic. It'd be pretty rare, but it can happen. For most people with bipolar disorder, these types of swings will happen over long spans of time. It might be months, it might be years even. With some people, you know, and a lot of it depends on, you know, how stressful is your life? How stressful is your day-to-day life? Because that will really exacerbate things. You know, do you have people around you that you can depend on? Do you have good supports? Do you have people to talk to about stuff? You know, those things all matter as far as symptom expression. And so some people, when they're in perhaps more chaotic environments, they might shift more rapidly between the two, just kind of as a result to the instability of the environment. Now, bipolar 1 would be bipolar that goes all the way up to mania. All the way up to mania. And mania is when you actually have to be involuntarily committed, or you have to be hospitalized because your mania is so bad that you're actually at risk of harming yourself or creating some major disruptions in your life. Like, I'm gonna sell my house, I'm gonna move across the world, I'm gonna become a big star. And so when somebody's in a mania, you'll often see them making like very intense, life-altering decisions on a whim, and that's very dangerous. And so that would be bipolar 1. You have had an issue of full-on mania. Most manic bouts tend to be more hypomanic. It can also be really hard to talk to somebody about bipolar disorder when they are in a hypomanic state. Now, why do you think that that might be? If a person is in a hypomanic state, why are they in no mood to talk about bipolar disorder? Or about taking medication? Don't worry, mods, I banned them myself. They feel great, or maybe they think they can deal with it on their own. You're right. A lot of people, when they're in a hypomanic mood, they don't want to talk about slowing down because I feel great right now. I feel more alive than I've ever been. I've got so much energy. I'm out there. I'm making moves. I'm out there on that grind. You know, big things are happening. We can't fix everyone. No, I just have zero patience for anybody who says just put the fries in the bag. I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about with that bullshit? I have zero tolerance. We're trying to have a grown-up conversation here, so you have to go back to the kiddie table, I fear. For me, it's kind of like energized, excited. I'll often get an idea I think is amazing, and then later like, nah, or I'll act weird and hyper. Yep, that's your average hypomanic experience. It's kind of like being on a stimulant. Which, kids, drugs are bad, okay? Drugs are bad, but being hypomanic is kind of like being on cocaine. Every idea you have is, wow, this is such a great idea. I really need to make this happen. I need to write this down. Drugs are bad, okay? Drugs are bad. Which makes sense why doing drugs when you're already in a hypomanic state can drive you further up into a manic episode. What you'll see is that, you know, when people are in certain emotional states, there are external factors that can exacerbate the condition. If a person's in a hypomanic state and they go to they're out there, they're making moves and they're at a party and somebody's like, hey, you want to try this? And then you try this and then you're like, whoa! And then you end up off the rails and you have to go to the hospital or something. This is why you want to consider mental health from a holistic perspective. You want to try to take everything into consideration. What's your home life like? What are your coping skills like? Are you doing any drugs? Are you getting good sleep? Are you eating proper food? Do you have a big orange cat? Because that's also important. Highly recommend Big Orange Cat for the mental wellness. Highly recommend. You know, if you're feeling depressed and you have a hard time getting up out of bed, a cat might be a nice idea. A cat will motivate you to get out of bed. Like, hey, get the fuck up. My food bowl's empty. Alright, well, if you're not going to get up, I'm just going to sit on your chest. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to lay across your face. I'm just going to chew on you. Think I could handle depression without the mania? The ups and downs are exhausting. See, you know, ups and downs are normal, but what we're looking for is we don't want these giant major swings, right? We want our range of emotional expression to be like this. You know, I have my ups and downs, and maybe even sometimes I go a little bit far down, but I'm still operating within a nice, healthy range. And so we want it because the ups and downs are normal, right? It's just a part of life. We want it to look more like this and less like this. These big, giant swings. Ready to move across the country with a bag 1 second, don't want to move the next. You know, I worked with a few young people who had bipolar disorder, and they had both done that during a manic episode. They just went out and started walking. One of them didn't even have shoes on when they did it. They found them like several hundred, or like states away, just My favorite one, though, was this guy I worked with who walked from Missouri all the way to California. He walked all the way to Venice Beach because he was going to go live with his juggalo girlfriend. You know, no shame on juggalos. Whoop whoop. We're down with the clown. So he walks across the country to go live with his juggalo girlfriend, but by the time he gets there, because it took him a long time to walk, by the time he gets there, they had ended up losing where, like, they got kicked out of wherever they were living or something, and so he walked all the way to California to go be homeless on Venice Beach with his juggalo girlfriend. Now, unfortunately, things didn't work out between them. I'm sorry, but I thought a juggalo was a male escort. No, that's a gigolo. That's different. I hope Clown Bro finds his Shangri-La. Oh no, he made sure to let me know that he wasn't a juggalo. He let me know. He was like, yeah, I'm not into it, but she was, and that's fine. Like, yeah, whatever. But anyway, his dad ended up having to come out and pick him up. But yeah, that's just something that'll happen sometimes. I've heard it happen a few times from people, you know, they were in manic episodes and they just start walking out the door. They're like, all right, I'm leaving. And so I've seen it happen a few times. Sometimes people will walk for hundreds or even longer. They'll just walk for hundreds of miles. I would also clarify that I was not a juggalo. You're not down with the clown? That's too bad. I was 100% a juggalo circa 2003, Fago and Bad Choices. I'm not anti-juggalo, but it's fair to say that they can be a little trashy sometimes. Just a little, like, you know, a little rough around the edges. Like, I'm sure that the people are nice, but I would also lock my car. You know, I wouldn't... I wouldn't leave anything out that might get picked up. One of them came out recently saying their music was offensive trash and not to defend it. Okay, wow, alright. I had to Google what an ICP was. Goobins, I would love for you to show me the rock that you've been living under this whole time in which you've never heard of juggalos, and you've also never watched Jurassic Park. Where have you been? Did you just get here? How long have you been on Earth now? He's new here. Seem chill in my limited experience, definitely lower income folks though. That's well said. They seem chill. They do a Juggalo convention. It's called the Gathering of the Juggalos. They do it every year. Let me make sure this... Oh, the website is down. The website says there's been a critical error on this website. Not juggalogathering.com being down. You telling me the Juggalos aren't paying their domain fees? Just making sure these results are safe for work. The annual gathering of the Juggalos. You know you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when I worked in a haunted house. It reminds me of some of the people that I worked with when I worked in the haunted house. Like, I'm sure you're a nice person, but I would not trust you with a set of my house keys. Anyway, whoop whoop. Worked in a call center and the place was full of juggalos? I don't know why. Did they drug test you? Were drug tests required to get the job? No, there was no drug testing? Well, that's probably part of it. Chat, we're all caught up in the question box. So, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. I'm gonna take a bathroom break. If there are no questions when I come back, I'm just gonna hit the end button. We're just gonna be done. I'm gonna leave you with this sleeping cat. See if I can get my camera to stay. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Be sure to get some questions in. Beaver will now be doing his segment. He's prepared a segment for the stream. You ready, Beaver? You have your material? You had all sorts of stuff. We spent hours at the craft store. Are you ready? You lost it? You forgot where you put it? You had a whole macrame thing? Beaver, you need a manager. You need a manager, Beaver. Beaver. Oh. Moving stuff. Just moved my monitor with your girth. This is how I feel. I feel like a sleepy cat today. This is how I feel. Are you more of a honk shoe type of snorer, or are you a me? How are you? I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked, because I'll tell you. I just feel tired. I feel tired, you know? I feel like we have to put up with so much crap. We don't really have much to show for it, and to see people just continuing to nitpick and argue over stuff that doesn't really matter is frustrating, and I'm just tired. I'm tired, boss. I just want a break. I want a break, not to break. Just feeling kind of low energy, so I don't know if I'm in live streaming mode at the moment, which I know, skill issue, get it together, pull it together. I think I'll feel better after the weekend. Take the weekend. Take the weekend, ground myself, come back into next week feeling rejuvenated. I've got some planning to do, you know, I've got some planning. Like I said, I want to do more collabs, so I need to do some work. I need to figure out what that would look like. Schedule some stuff, reach out to people. just want to hang out with some people that are real, you know what I mean? I just want to hang out with some real ones. There's just a lot of self-interested, disingenuous people out there, and they exhaust me. I'm going to do an outline for a presentation on BFBRs, BFRBs, body-focused repetitive behaviors. An interesting topic for sure. It's part of how we self-soothe. We have these body-focused repetitive behaviors. An example, if you have a beard or facial hair and you go like this, this is a body-focused repetitive behavior. Some body-focused repetitive behaviors are focused on like grooming or cleanliness. Some of them are more anxious and they might be a little more self-destructive even. You know, you might pick at yourself, you might pluck your hairs out. You might play with your hair. You know, some of them are harmless, but ultimately they are a way that we try to regulate our nervous system. You know, because our nervous system likes to feel in balance, it likes to feel regulated, and that's part of how we do it. What I would love for all of you is to stop picking at yourself if you pick at yourself. Because if you're doing it physically, you're probably also doing it mentally too. Just think about that for a second. If you get anxious and it makes you like pick at yourself, you're also doing that internally, mentally. You're picking at yourself, you know, the way that our bodies behave is a reflection of our internal psyche. You know, when we want to try to feel at peace, we need to think of that as a full body equation. Body, mind, and spirit. The amount of people in chat who clearly need this presentation. I feel like everybody could benefit from it because it's biological in origin. I'll sometimes refer to it as nitpicking behaviors. Not to be like reductive or insulting or anything, but because that's biologically a part of what's going on. I'll show you. You know, we're primates. And nitpicking is something that primates like to do. You know, they'll get in there and they'll... We do it too. We also do it. We do it physically, and we also do it psychologically. It's an interesting reflection of the hardware that we're working with. This is why XQC eats his toenails? Yes, but also because he's gross. Because that's a gross thing to do, and sometimes we'll do some gross stuff. Like, you could also classify eating boogers. You could... It's just gross. But at the end of the day, it's all monkey business, right? It's all monkey business. Exorciation. Well, I need to scroll because I'm trying to scroll back up because chat's moving. Exorciation was an explicit product of dysphoria. A keen observation. Exorciation is a fancy term for picking at your own skin. And if you feel like you don't belong in your body, or you feel uncomfortable in your body, or you feel detached from your body, then it can lead into more of those behaviors, because that feeling of discomfort creates a lot of anxiety, and restlessness. And when we have a lot of anxiety and restlessness, what do? One of the things we do to self-soothe when we're feeling restless and anxious is we nitpick. The difference between that and trichotillomania. Trichotillomania is one of the most fun words to say. It's very similar. It's under the same umbrella. It's like a compulsive, repetitive, self-focused action. Except with trichotillomania, it has to just do with your hair. You might pluck out your eyebrows, you might pluck out your body hairs, you might pluck out the hairs on your head. And so the two are very related. The distinction is just, what is it that you're picking at? Are you picking at your skin, or are you picking at your hair? For me, it's the skin. All right. If you're the type of person to pick at yourself, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we could do instead. Whenever you feel the urge or the compulsion to pick at yourself, what we're going to try to do is replace that behavior with a behavior that's less self-destructive. And so instead of picking at yourself, maybe you could give yourself more of a compassionate, maybe just rub yourself, or maybe, massage yourself a little bit. Or maybe get up and move a little bit, because your body is looking to regulate itself, and there are all sorts of ways that you can do that are less hyper-focused and self-destructive. Practice giving yourself I'm trying to phrase this in ways that don't sound dirty, but I'm having a hard time not. Give yourself a compassionate, stroke. If you find yourself, I'll give you an example. Sometimes people will, clench their hands, or they'll, wring their hands together, and they'll grab them real tight. It's try to release that tension, and instead, just hold your hand as if you were holding a loved one's hand. As if this is the hand of somebody that you really care about, somebody that you don't want to hurt, somebody that you want to feel comforted. You're rewiring how you handle yourself. Try to treat yourself like you're... Try to handle yourself the same way that you would handle a big orange cat. You would give him gentle pets and gentle scritches. You would not pick at him. You would not pluck out his hairs. You would show him that you care about him and you want him to feel safe and loved and comfortable. Treat yourself the same way. That's the whole idea. You're trying to rewire how you're accustomed to handling yourself. Do I handle with care or do I handle roughly? For a lot of people, it's a compulsive behavior because self-soothing is something that we will do compulsively. As we talked about before, it's an effort to regain homeostasis. We're trying to feel balanced. We're trying to feel regulated. We're trying to feel comfortable. And sometimes we try to force it. And so we engage in these self-destructive behaviors where we just really pick at ourselves, or we pluck out our hairs. Is that a shock collar on Beavis? No, he has an air tag and a bell. But that's it. Just an air tag and a bell. Name is Beavis. That's his legal name. I like to call him Beaver. I'm the one with the shock collar. Josh won't let me take it off. That's just your reward for being a founding member of the stream. You get that? You got that founder badge? We're doing some Pavlovian techniques. Every time you think a bad thought about yourself, I give you a little zap. I say, you need to be nicer to yourself. Don't you go thinking those self-defeating thoughts. Wait, the way this could actually work on me? It's just classical conditioning. Actually, if not to split hairs here, but it would actually be more like operant conditioning because there's a negative stimuli being added. Not to split hairs or anything. Operant? Alright. We'll dabble with... Okay, I need to do a presentation on behaviorism. I feel like the issue is I personally am just tired of talking about behaviorism because we had to talk about it a lot in school. Because the behaviorists were the psychologists who wanted to be taken very seriously as scientists. And so they focused entirely on observable behaviors and things that you could measure. And so that's where the behaviorists come from. And the behaviorists, they introduce us to some important information that's worth covering, but I'm just tired of talking about it because I've had to talk about it in just about every psychology class that I've ever had. But there's a few different types of conditioning, and conditioning is just how you can create a new behavior. You can create a new behavior through conditioning. The idea of classical conditioning comes from a guy by the name of Ivan Pavlov, and he did some experiments with dogs where he conditioned the dogs to salivate at the sound of a bell. And so what he did was he had the dogs, and he would offer them food, and as he offered them food, they would salivate. That's the natural, unconditioned stimulus. A dog will naturally drool when there's food around. And so what he found was that if I give the dog the food and I ring a bell at the same time, what I can do is I can get the dog to drool just at the sound of the bell. There doesn't actually need to be any food. And that is classical conditioning. My cats when they hear the can opening. Another great example. That's classical conditioning. Classical conditioning, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to understand. You know, you're adding something and then you form an association between the two things. I'll give you another example. Let's say that you drink coffee at work, but the coffee at work, it's not that good. Work sucks. And so later, you find yourself somewhere completely different. Maybe you're at a hotel, maybe you're at a friend's house, and they have the same coffee that you drink at work. Since the association is there between the flavor of this coffee and being at work, you drinking that coffee might make you feel kind of bummed out, like, where'd that come from? This coffee's making me feel like shit. And it's because there's the conditioned response. In the name Ivan, there's emphasis on the second syllable. Yeah, my Russian's not very good. Ivan Pavlov. So хорошо. That's my favorite word in Russian, horosho. It basically just means like, it's all good. Like, hey, you doing okay? You're like, yeah, zo horosho. I remember it because it sounds like horror show. It sounds like horror show, but it actually means the opposite of horror show. It means that it's all good. Anyway, we'll do a presentation sometime on behaviorism, because it would be kind of fun to revisit it. And I know, just because I've talked about it too much doesn't mean that you guys wouldn't find it interesting. And that's something that I need to be better at being mindful of. There are certain topics within the realm of psychology that I have just hammered to death over the course of my education and career, and so. But I'm like, wait a second, people might still be interested in learning about this, just because I've heard about it a billion times. So classical conditioning, that's pretty easy to understand. There's another one that comes from B.F. Skinner, and that's operant conditioning. And this is when the idea of reward or punishment is involved. Because you can also condition behaviors based on how you treat the person after they do the behavior. I thought we did a presentation on this. It feels like something that we would have done a presentation on, but I don't know if we ever actually did. Now that we talk about it, we probably did at some point. We probably did. There are a few different ways that you can do operant conditioning, and it's positive and negative, punishment, and reinforcement. And if that sounds confusing, that's because it is, but don't worry, I'll explain it to you. Think of positive, not as good, but as adding something. That we are adding something to the equation. And think of negative not as necessarily bad, but as taking something away. So there's positive reinforcement, which is when you do a good behavior, I give you a reward. That is a positive reinforcement. A positive punishment would be I add something for your bad behavior. The example they use here is spanking, but I'm not okay with that one. I'm gonna say you get more chores. You didn't do this? Okay, well now you have to, we're gonna add things on. I need you to write a 50-word essay. Timeout. So timeout would be a negative punishment because we're taking something away. I'm taking away your autonomy and your freedom, and you have to stay right here for the next 5 minutes. The negative comes from the act of taking something away. So I'm going to take away your favorite toy. I'm going to take away your freedom. And that's another way that you can condition somebody. There's also negative reinforcement, which is when you take away something as a reward. We're like, oh, you know what? I trust you more. You've been acting so good. You can stay up late. You don't have to go to bed at the same time. I'm gonna lift the curfew. So this is operant conditioning, and it works with the same mechanisms through classical conditioning. It's all about forming an association between a stimulus and a response. Except we break it down a little bit further and we look at, reinforcement and we look at punishment. And we can see that there's both positive and negative forms. Again, positive and negative, not referring to good and bad. Positive and negative as in you are either adding something or taking something away. Do these 4 typings matter much, or just to get the idea? Understanding these different types is important because what you'll notice is that depending on who you're working with, depending on the situation, depending on the behaviors that you're trying to reinforce, different responses will work better than other responses. Some people might respond really well to positive reinforcement, some people might not, and so we often talk about it, like educationally, we often talk about it within the context of raising children. We talk about it a lot within that context, but it's something that still happens onwards into adulthood. You see it happen with full-grown adults too, so. I feel like it may work at work. They definitely do it at work. Except what you'll notice is that there's probably certain types that you don't really see at work. You don't really see much positive reinforcement at work. They don't really do much to give rewards for good behavior, and if they do, the rewards they give you kind of suck. They're like, hey, here's a certificate. You can put this on your wall. Employee of the month. Very cool, right? So no spanking? Not at work, I'm afraid. That's meant to be consensual between adults. I'm not anti-spanking so long as it's between consensual adults. I don't think we should be doing it to children, that's weird. what you'll find is that with different people, different types of reinforcement will work more effectively. Some people really respond to having the lifting of restrictions. You know, some people really respond well to giving them more trust, you know, that type of negative reinforcement. You know, I don't have to keep you on such a tight leash. You know, we give you more freedom and autonomy. You'll also see that there are ways in which you could combine these. Think about like prison, for example. Prison is pure punishment. There is both the negative aspect in that you are taking away someone's freedom, you are taking away their autonomy, but there is also the positive aspect in which there are definitely things that are going on within a prison environment that are highly unsatisfactory. And so this is B.F. Skinner for you. B.F. Skinner, by the way, he had a head as big as mine. Just look at the size of that dome. Look at the size of that noggin. Could be related. Just a couple of big-headed psychology boys, huh, Skinner? You know, if you find yourself thinking about this type of understanding of psychology and you're like, but hey, there's probably a lot more to it than that, you're right. Because, as I mentioned before, these are ideas that were put forward by the behaviorists, which were primarily focused on observable behaviors. And so there are other ways that people learn. There are other ways that behaviors can become conditioned. There's also social learning. You know, like I don't have to get punished myself to not do something bad. I can watch somebody else get punished, and then that makes me want to not do it. Like, okay. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Also, B.F. Skinner did a bunch of tests on like pigeons and rats and stuff. He'd put them in these little boxes, these little devices, and they'd push buttons and get rewards and stuff. It's called a Skinner box. Beavis, get off my keyboard. Good old operant conditioning chamber. We found out some interesting stuff through these types of experiments. Poor animals got experimented on. Shout out to the Russians for having a statue of a mouse that's in honor of all of the lab mice that have been experimented on in the name of science. Monument to the Laboratory Mouse. It's in Siberia. There's a lot more that we learned about behaviorism, and I won't bore you with all the details, but I'll tell you some more of the interesting stuff. We learned about stuff like reward schedules. So we learned that rewards are effective at reinforcing behaviors, but how do you schedule the rewards? How often do you give the rewards? Do you give the reward every time? You know, that type of stuff. And what they found was that typically the most reinforcing reward schedule was an inconsistent one. To describe it more straightforward, it's why slot machines are so addictive. And the way that they measured the inconsistent reward schedule was like this. What they found is that if they put an animal in a box and it can push a button to get food, you can teach it to push the button more often if you don't give it a food pellet every single time it pushes the button. You know, maybe it's got to push it 3 times and a pellet comes out, and then it's got to push it 10 times and a pellet comes out. That will actually reinforce the behavior more strongly than a consistent reward schedule. Congratulations, you now understand why gambling is so addictive. Am I broken because slot machines are not fun to me? No, that's actually normal. The amount of times I have people ask me questions like, hey, I do this thing. Am I messed up? It's like, no, God, no, you're normal. But anyway, so you understand the idea of an inconsistent reward schedule. A slot machine is a great example. You know, you might do the slot machine once and then you get a little bit of a win, and then you play 5 times and you lose, and then you play again and you win, and then you play 3 more times and then you lose, and then you win again. And the inconsistency keeps you going because part of you is not certain what's going to be next. You start to feel like, I just need just one more spin, and that'll give me the win. The inconsistency kind of triggers a certain anxiety within us, and it makes us want to go even more because, like, all right, just one more. This also explains TikTok. This also explains short form content. You know, YouTube shorts, TikTok, Instagram reels, all that kind of stuff. Except you're not playing for food pellets, you're playing for dopamine. You're playing for your brain's reward chemical, because every time you scroll and you find something that marginally entertains you and you blow air out of your nostrils, you get just a little bit of dopamine, you just get a little hit. Like, all right, keep going. Maybe I gotta scroll through 10 posts before I find something else that I like. Keep it going. Oh shit, we're horsing around? We're horsing around? Chat, get your horses up. Get your horses up, we're horsing around. Hooves on the ground. We need hooves on the ground. Pork chime! Pork chime, thank you for the 28 months. You beautiful soul. Anyway, early psychology is full of all sorts of crazy stuff. You know, the more you dig into it, you got little Albert. Oh shit, we're horsing around. We got a stampede! We got a stampede, Beaver. Take cover. Take cover, Beaver. We got a stampede. Combo level 4 achieved 1,000 bits. Holy shit. Let's go. Since we were talking about classical conditioning, I gotta talk about this baby, little Albert. Honestly, isn't this such an ominous picture? Doesn't this look like it's from a horror movie? No, this was just from an early psychological experiment. They wanted to see if they could get a baby to be afraid of soft, fuzzy stuff. And so they would show the baby like a bunny rabbit, and then they would hit like a piece of metal, or like they made a loud sound, and it would scare the baby, and then the baby ended up getting scared of bunny rabbits because it associated it with the loud noise. Also, John Watson, the guy that led this experiment, he ended up losing his job at the university he worked at because he was having an affair with his lab assistant. And then you know what he ended up to go on and do? When he wasn't able to work in psychology anymore, you have any guesses on what field he went into? Advertising. The original marketing people, the original advertisers, they were psychologists. Oh shit. Thanks for the bits. Thanks for the bits. Horsing around. Thanks for all the bits. So that's how the combos work. If you just get enough bits in, it unlocks the combo. So since you all sent me 233 bits, I got an extra, like, several hundred bits. That's pretty sick. Nice. MBAs ruin everything. It's true, they really do. MBA thinking. How can we make money off of this? Fun fact, marketing psych is ontologically evil. It really is, isn't it? Understanding psychology is a powerful thing. Understanding people's behaviors, understanding people's motives, it's powerful stuff. And there are definitely forces that take advantage of it in order to sell you stuff, in order to distract you, in order to keep your focus on things that don't actually matter. And so this is why I find psychoeducation to be so important. It can help you to wake up to all the stuff that's going on around you. It can help you to recognize all of the ways that you're being manipulated. How did little Albert turn out as an adult, or do we know? We don't know. There have been speculations, but I don't think we actually do know who he was. But the silver lining here is that, thankfully, that type of stuff, when it's so early on in your development, it doesn't normally tend to stick with you. Children are very resilient. And there's a period of time when you're like a little baby or even a toddler where stuff just it might not stick because you don't have a functioning memory yet. It's not really until you have a functioning memory that stuff will stick like that. I do internet safety to kids as young as 3rd grade, and I always talk about advertising and them being the product. Right? And it's like, by the time we properly teach kids about that stuff, it's like we need to teach them about AI. It's like, God, the internet, it's like the Wild West out here. My deep desire is to have a loving partner. People tell me to avoid Tinder. Some of us get lucky. Some of us get lucky on Tinder. That's where I met Casey. We got lucky. So, I've heard it's terrible. I've heard it's terrible. I've heard the online dating scene is awful. Is there anybody who's out there doing online dating right now? Can you confirm that it is in fact terrible? Because that's all I've heard. It was terrible whenever I last did it, you know, nearly 10 years ago, and I can only imagine it's gotten worse. I feel anxious about the thought that other people would be able to see me, perceive me, then swipe no or yes. But that seems to be the most logical way to look for a partner. I don't think so. I'm going to challenge your logic here. I'm going to politely and in a friendly way, I'm going to challenge your logic here. Because what logic says to me is the best way to find a partner is out there in the real world, because that's how we've been doing it for a very long time. Dating apps and online dating, that's only existed for a blink, a little blip in the span of human history. It would probably be one of the more convenient ways to meet a person, but I would not conflate convenience with logic. When I go out, it's to the grocery store or for walks, or if I'm hanging out with family, maybe at a cafe with them. So Tinder is an obvious space where you can meet people if you don't go to many social arenas. Should I still just hope to meet someone organically in some magical way? Should I dive into the scary world of Tinder? What do you think? Let's reframe. Let's do a little reframe here, alright? Follow me for a second. I'm going to encourage you to try online dating and meeting people on Tinder, not with any goal other than practice. This is practice talking to people. This is practice engaging with people. This is me refining my game. This is me feeling more connected. This is me feeling more confident, more self-assured. And so I wouldn't look at it as this is the only way it's going to get done, and so I need to make this work. I would just say treat every day as a learning opportunity and just keep your options open. You know, maybe it'll be somebody that you meet through an app or on the internet, or maybe it'll be somebody that you run into at the park or, you know, at a public event. You know, there are any number of ways that you might run into somebody that you really like, that you really want to get to know, you really want to spend more time with. And so if you're going to use online dating, I would encourage you to see that as an opportunity to practice and to refine and to see what's out there and to just feel more comfortable with having conversations with people and learning more about people, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. I would go into it with low expectations, and just try to be optimistic about the potential outcomes. You know, this doesn't need to be a make or break, do or die, life or death situation. Just try to enjoy it. Try to learn about yourself. Try to learn about other people. Form connections. See who's out there. You know, because when we think about the idea of finding a loving partner, we think of, you know, there we were at a coffee shop, we bumped into each other on the subway. You know, we think of it in cinematic, romantic, these types of tones and such. But there are so many other ways that it can happen. Like, let's say that you meet a friend, you make a new friend, and hey, guess what? This friend, they've got a sibling. They've got a sibling and they're single. Or maybe they've got another friend who's single and they're in the market, they're out there looking. Most people, or a lot of people, I shouldn't say most because I don't have the statistics right here in front of me, but a lot of people meet a partner through another person. It's through either a mutual friend or a classmate or a coworker. It's somebody that they know, and so they're able to kind of be introduced that way. And so just keep your options open. Keep talking to people. Keep enjoying life. And you'll find somebody that you want to share it with. It'll be an inevitability. If you put yourself out there and people can see that you're somebody that enjoys life, somebody who has hobbies, somebody who likes to make connections, there will undoubtedly be people who want to be a part of that. You can volunteer, you can go to events, you can join organizations. There's so many other options to meet people, and that's what I would focus on. Don't focus on finding a partner, focus on meeting people. Because by meeting people and forming relationships and building connections, finding a partner is just a matter of time. You know, eventually you'll meet somebody where they have a friend they want to introduce you to, or, you know, they have somebody that they think you'd be a good match, you know. They just focus on meeting people and forming connections. That's all you gotta do. And when people see you as somebody who is self-assured and confident and social and friendly and fun, you will have people who will want to be with you. You'll have people lining up. They'll be lining around the block for a chance to get with you. I'm having a talking stage. I really like him and I don't want to mess it up. I want to tell him, but I don't know if he feels the same way. What do you feel in your gut? Oop. Dropped my phone. Anyway, I guess what I'm getting at here with this response to this question is don't focus so much on the end goal, just focus on the process. Get out there, have fun, live life, meet people. It's only a matter of time until you find somebody that you want to share it with. Because people are attracted to genuine, authentic, real people. Just be one of those. You'll be like a breath of fresh air. You know, if you're in a relationship with somebody or you're just kind of talking and you're still kind of figuring things out and you're not sure when to take things to the next level or to talk about how you feel, don't force it. Just try to find a moment that feels right. You know, go out, have a nice little date, go on a walk, maybe have some food. You know, wait until the time is right and then you let them know, like, hey, I really like what we've got going on here. I'm just scared that I get hurt, you know? But the not knowing also hurts, doesn't it? The not knowing, it's also uncomfortable. Me personally, I operate under the idea of if I like somebody, I let them know. Like, hey, I think you're a good person. You know, I like spending time with you. There are ways that you can talk about taking things to the next level without necessarily having to be so blunt about it. You know, you don't have to be like, so what's going on here? So what is this? You know, what are we doing here? You know, sometimes people can come on a little strong when they're like, so are we dating? Or, you know, we don't have to do it like that. We can just take it easy and we can just let them know how we feel. You know, I really enjoy spending time with you. It always brightens my day to see you. You know, I always look forward to hearing from you. You know, just let them know how you feel. And hopefully they let you know how they feel too. But if they don't, that's no fault of your own. You know, letting people know how we feel about them, it's an act of bravery. Because a lot of people are afraid to talk about how they feel. And so if you like somebody, tell them you like them. If you enjoy spending time with them, tell them you enjoy spending time with them. And just see where it goes. Maybe it'll grow. Or maybe it'll stay the same. You could enjoy it either way. You know, we often close off our heart in fear of getting hurt. And what's important to recognize is that that's a painful way to live. You know, it can be scary to live with your heart open and to love freely. But it's worth it. You know? It allows you to let go of that fear. It allows you to let go of that fear of getting hurt because now love is not a finite resource. Love is not something that I can run out of. I don't need to restrict who I show love to out of fear that I'm going to run out of love. What you'll notice is that if you open your heart up and you allow yourself to love more freely, you will actually end up with even more love than you started with. we get so scared of being open. We get so scared, you know, that we're going to run out of love or we're going to get hurt. We're going to have to, but that just keeps us small. It keeps us confined and it keeps us trapped in a cycle of pain. Love is not a finite resource. You will always have more to give. And the more you give, the more you will receive. Thanks, I think I'll tell him when we meet. You know, just all you can do is talk about how you feel. And if he's not ready to hear it, or if he's not at least understanding, like, the way I see it is, I look at it this way. If I were with somebody and we were just talking, and then they told me that they liked me, but maybe I wasn't quite there yet, I would still at least be nice about it. I wouldn't be like, ew, no, you're misunderstood, get out of here, what are you doing? You know, we recognize that some people open up a little slower than others, and so maybe we open up a little quicker. Maybe they're still a little trepidatious. Well, that's fine. If you like the person, just let them know you like them. Like, hey, I like spending time with you. I like hanging out with you. I have a lot of fun. You can tell somebody how you feel without also telling them where you think it should go from here. And I feel like that's sometimes where people get themselves hung up is, you know, in telling someone how they feel, they also have to tell them what the next step is. Like, hey, I really like you, so are we dating now, or what's going on? It doesn't have to be that. You don't have to force it and rush it into that next stage. Just celebrate what you have right now and let them know that it is bringing you joy. And then maybe they'll be like, hey, you know, me too. And then when the time is right, you can see about taking things to the next step. I feel like we rush into labels because labels help us to understand things. They give order, they give definition, but they can also be scary because they can be very, as it's in the name, definitive. And so if you like somebody, tell them you like them. That doesn't mean that you have to, you know, put them on the spot and be like, so are we dating? Like, what's going on? Where's this going? We're running out of time here. My clock is ticking. Manifesting love and happiness for all that seek it. Here you go. I'll let's bust out the throat king, the throat singing king himself. It's important to note he is not the king of throat singing. He is a king that just so happens to throat sing. Here's a mantra for you. This is for romantic love and attraction. Hold on, I need to. Where's the volume button on this? Why does the volume button not show up? There we go.
Om Kamadevaya Vidmahe Pushpavanaya Dhimahi Tano Ananga Prachodayat. Om Kamadevaya Vidmahe Pushpavanaya Dhimahi Tano Ananga Prachodayat. Om Kamadevaya Vidmahe Pushpavanaya Dhimahi Tano Ananga Prachodayat. Om Kamadevaya Vidmahe Pushpavanaya Dhimahi Tano Ananga Prachodayat.
This is
Om Kamadevaya Vidmahe.
This mantra awakens the vibration of love, attraction, and sensual energy. It harmonizes the heart and sacral chakras, amplifying personal magnetism, confidence, and emotional warmth.
Pushpavanaya Dhimahi Tano Ananga Prachodayat. Om Kamadevaya Vidmahe Pushpavanaya
I'm choosing to believe.
Dhimahi Tano Ananga Prachodayat. Om Kamadevaya Vidmahe Pushpavanaya Dhimahi Tano Ananga Prachodayat.
Hopefully your chakras feel a bit more balanced. Shout out to the 2 people watching on YouTube right now. Shout out to my 2 YouTubers. Killdozer went to Japan. He's been to Japan already. He did a video in Japan before. Or he did some shorts in Japan. I don't know if he did a full video. Well, exactly. That's how I feel. I'm in my, well, Alright. I think that's gonna be it for today. My brain is gelatin. That's going to be it for me today. I hope you all have a great night. We'll be back again. Next week. I'll have some exciting stuff ready for you next week. I've got some cool stuff that I want to do. Got some cool stuff, some fun presentations. I just need some rest. California really takes it out of me, and I need a week to recover. My poor Midwestern sensibilities, my poor Midwestern microbiome. I go out to California for a week, and then it takes me a week to adjust back to normalcy. Hope you'll have a great weekend. Hope you'll have a great weekend. Come check us out in the Discord if you're not already in the Discord. We like to post cat pics and talk about cheesy movies. At least that's what I like to do. Hope you all have a great night. I will see you all next time. Take care. Stay safe out there. See you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I need a cup of tea. I am getting very sleepy.